This episode of Important If True is brought to you by Quip. Electric toothbrushes, compact, well-designed. They will brush your teeth for the full 2 minutes you need. And if you go to tryquip.com/thumbs, you can get $10 off your first brush head refill sent to you every 3 months. That is tryquip.com/thumbs. What's your endorsement, though?
Okay, let me just look on the fucking internet for something to endorse. Google. I endorse this thing that I found. It's a search engine.
Google. Yahoo?
I endorse
Microsoft.
And Yahoo. Jake, what do you got? Google, Microsoft, and Yahoo.
Google?
Get hype.
Fuck you. Get fucked. Fuck you. I'm mad.
And this is Important If True. From Idle Thumbs, I'm mad. I bias.
You bias.
And you bias.
You an idiot. Fuck you. Speaking of the worst thing, it's August 24th, 2017.
And this is Important If True.
Hey!
Hey, from Idle Thumbs, I am Chris Remo.
I'm Nick Brecken.
I'm Jake Rodkin. Welcome to this podcast.
Thanks.
To the podcast of podcasts.
Welcome to it. How
Thank
you feeling,
you.
Nick?
Great.
I heard you had some food
I'm
poisoning.
hype. I did have food poisoning.
How'd that happen?
I ate some bad food.
I'm hype. I had some food poisoning.
Well, at least you're hype.
Oh yeah,
Nick,
I'm always hype.
That's
Chris.
all we can ask for, really.
Nick
I
ate
wake
some
up
food
hype.
that got him hype.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Nick got
It got
hype.
my stomach got hype, and then
I got hype from something I ate. It really fucked me up.
Yeah.
But you know, what can I say? I'm hype.
I'm always hype
Yeah. Well, thanks for showing up
because I've contracted hype.
in this in this hype state.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I am hype.
Oh.
But I hate that we're saying this.
Yeah, let's just bleep out every instance of
Yeah,
so far, including that one.
yeah. There was a very, very good story that happened. I feel like this is a good undercutting of a lot of the kind of future trends that we sometimes talk about on this podcast. The headline is, quote, driverless, unquote, van in Virginia is driven by man dressed like car seat. This is an incredible story that was reported by NBCWashington.com, which is the local affiliate station in Washington, D.C. And this is a story about a van that had been driving around, I think mainly like Arlington, Virginia, a seemingly driverless van that the local news started like taking notice of, and they actually sent their transportation reporter out to like tail this car and follow it around. And when he finally like caught up with it and stopped at a red light and got out and like went up to the window, it was revealed that it was a guy dressed as a car seat, like in the front seat, and you can see his hands like poking out
There's just like pants coming out of the bottom.
Of the car seat, sort of holding the wheel from the bottom and like kind of staring it around with his little hands down there. And the reporter's like banging on the window, being like, "Hey man, I'm from the news. What is this?" And the guy ran a red light to get away for the car
that's those driverless cars suck, see?
Yeah. The story says, after multiple inquiries by News 4, the Virginia Tech Transportation Institute said Monday afternoon that the van and van driver are part of a study they are conducting on driverless cars. And then the most incredible sentence, the most incredible sentence in the entire piece follows, which is, the worker was wearing the uniform he was supposed to wear. That's his uniform. His uniform is top half.
Do you think there's is a car?
Do you think there's a clothes rack with just multiple car seats hanging from it
I
somewhere?
know.
Like,
right? Like that's all I could think of. Like
Frank. It's just
Yeah.
like Tim.
You have your checkout where you sort of take the key ring off the little pegboard,
Yeah.
and then it has two keys, one of which unlocks the locker that has the seat for like the 96 Honda Civic.
Yeah.
And then the other key is the key to that Civic. So first, it's like a two-step process where you first,
Right.
Yeah.
you grab the keys,
Yeah, there's-
unlock your locker, put your car seat on, then get in the car, and then the car drives away automatically because you're driving it.
Yeah, there's a really good like Requiem for a Dream montage sequence about this guy putting on his car seat uniform. Yeah, yep. I love it. I also love the idea that this is a uniform that like a uniform implies something sort of almost like ceremonial or
it's
symbolic.
Got my uniform today.
It's
Yeah.
you mean like it's like its vestments?
Yeah, like the phrase, wear the job that you want to have.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
what is-
dress for the job
Dress
you
for
want to
the
have.
job,
He's like,
yeah.
I want to be a car.
Yeah, like what
I wanna
is
be a car
what is
seat.
the sort of confidence imbued in you? I love
The idea that you're
of
like
this.
gonna actually, this guy's gonna come in for a job interview.
Right,
And you're like-
I really see myself in this car. I really see myself in
As
the
this
driver's
car.
seat.
Oh, okay. That's you do that to intimidate a car salesman.
What?
You
What?
show up like instead of wearing like your best suit to go
Yeah.
buy a car or something, you just drive up as the seat for a really expensive car, and then
Yeah,
like,
and
oh.
then you're like, can we go on a test drive?
you're like,
And then you-
I'm not in the car
Yeah,
anymore.
exactly. Yeah, right. As he leaves, and he's like, all right,
Master
what do you think?
ventriloquist
Yeah.
and car seat costume owner.
Yeah, just squat that car.
So they're doing research into autonomous vehicles.
Yeah,
or reactions to.
Yeah,
right?
the
It
point
was-
of the point, of, the,
Yeah,
the point of
yeah.
this, as I understand it, was to try and gauge the reaction of the population.
And other autonomous cars, surely. Do they know that there's a guy driving this car? Can you hide
Well-
in plain sight?
Well,
in
that
an
was
my
autonomous
thought.
future?
the fact that it
That was my
okay,
thought, is that this is what's gonna
Really?
if you're gonna drive in the future, this is what you'll have to do.
Yeah, in a world of autonomous
You
cars,
have
if you
to
still
hide.
want to drive a
If
car like a regular person, if you're
Oh,
like my
I see.
manual
Yeah.
transmission, I
You've
can
got
hide
it-
in plain sight.
This is the ghillie suit for driving
I
in
see,
like
I see. That makes sense.
22, 42 or
I
whatever.
thought what you meant.
Yeah.
I thought what you meant was the purpose of this study was to like see how this to sort of test for unintended consequences in a world full of driverless cars. But the fact that it was the fact that in this city it was considered so notable that there was any driverless car driving around at
Right.
all that the news sent out a guy to follow
Right.
it around and bang on the windshield suggests that there probably aren't like real driverless cars in this area.
Right, but these...
But I like the idea of a sort of preemptive
Yeah, they're like,
population
they're
of
looking
weird
decades
fi-
ahead.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
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 We're going to get in now so that this driverless car is just sort of accepted when no one else is driving.
But man, I love your guys' idea that in a world where like where all cars are driverless and human-driven cars are outlawed. That
You have to
this
put a
is
car
the
seat on.
Stupid way that you can be a law-breaking,
I mean, because then you would actually get pulled
joyrider.
over not by the like journalists, but like just cops.
Yeah.
and they would knock on the glass and be like,
By the-
"Sir,
well,
we
you
know what's going on
I
here."
can see your legs.
Yeah, I can see
No,
your
you-
legs, sir.
What would-
Driver license
would
and
happen-
registration, and you can't reach for it because you're a car seat.
What would happen is that you're pulled over by the AI driverless car.
Oh, right, yeah.
Which then tries to communicate with you and doesn't understand, sir, give your license to me, and then you're like, shit, I don't speak this. Like,
Right,
and
and I can't
Then
move.
You turn your car back on and immediately run over one person to save 5 people. And it goes, oh, okay, it's an autonomous car.
yeah.
Just look for a place, where you
Just
can...
immediately, yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, oh,
Fuck, I need
gotta find a trolley
I need
problem.
a trolley problem immediately.
If you're being chased, like you get, a huge autonomous vehicle chase because they think that
Yeah.
you're a guy. But the way you blend in is by just murdering one human instead of 20. And they're like, oh, they sort of... Then
Checks
they
out.
just, yeah. So, an interesting thing about people dressed as car seats...
Okay.
This is actually a common technique in action filmmaking.
Oh yeah.
If you
Wait, really?
in like stunt driving action car chase movies where they want to have an elaborate camera move where like the camera will fly through the back seat and then suddenly it's a handheld shot that turns to look at the driver.
Often the back seat of that car and the passenger seat of that car are dudes dressed as car seats who are actually camera operators.
What?
Yeah. Here,
Wait, I don't hold on, real quick. You know what I thought you were gonna say?
Okay.
Was that this is a way that you can film chase sequences in which non-professionally trained actors can, like if Tom Cruise is like sitting on top of his stunt driver and his stunt driver is dressed as a car seat in the front of the car, and then Tom Cruise is sitting on top of that guy.
Okay, that's honestly not that far from the truth, because they do sometimes have stunt drivers in the back seat where the steering wheel's rerouted to the back and they're fucking dressed as a car seat.
Oh man,
that stuff is real. So here's the most notable one of these that the internet obsessed over a little while ago is there's a scene in the movie The Raid 2 where the camera is like driving down the highway, then suddenly just flies into the window of a car. And the behind the scenes for it is there's there's a guy being held on by straps to a boom on another car. He hands the camera to what looks like the passenger seat, but then two arms pop out once the camera is past the seat, and then it hands it to another guy dressed kind of as a piece of the car who's hiding underneath the car. So here, you have to watch this a couple times, and we'll link to it. But
I don't understand what. Wow! Yeah, there's someone just like dressed as a car seat who just reaches out
just
and
suddenly
grabs
the car seat fucking comes to life, and it's a guy.
The car seat just comes to life and snatches the camera from outside of the car. Like, wow, that's so complicated. I love that this shit happens in a world where, like, sooner or later, literally every single frame of this will just be a computer, except for maybe the human face composited on top of the driver. Yeah. But like, this is amazing. I love that this stupid research and execution is still happening.
The thing that a lot of times that or when movies do this sort of technique, they still will digitally like add window glare and reflection, and then the camera sort of phases through it, but the actual camera operation is done practically.
Yeah.
So
wow, and then there's another person just like lying down,
the guy to receive the camera
outside
to get the rest
of the
shot.
car. Like there's a guy basically on a little skateboard bolted to the outside of the car who's just lying there. He's just like skidding around on the street basically. Wow, this is an amazing rig. Holy shit.
Back to the guy who's doing the research, quote unquote, which I assume is to disguise himself in an autonomous future. Thinking about this, where that car seat just comes to life and grabs the camera, I now am picturing this where the AI police officer, the robot is going, "Sir, open the," trying to communicate to this autonomous car, and the window rolls down, presumably because of some sort of data transfer. But then that guy's arms just fucking tear out of the seat, and he snaps the neck of that robot and drives away. It's like, "I'm a person," and then it's just gone. It looks, the same way as that passenger seat of that car. Suddenly, his arms pop out to grab that camera. If you just. That would be a horror movie for robots in the robot future. Where it's like, fuck, this car was actually a guy.
That was a person.
There was a guy. He just totally destroyed that robot.
Oh man,
he hacked it and then drove away.
Yeah.
When the human driver bleeds on that robot and its DNA, which is encoded with malware, destroys that AI robot police officer.
So I actually haven't read. I actually don't know this. So Jake, you're gonna have to. To go into this, but this was someone, actually a number of people.
It's in follow-up to some of our previous conversations, right?
Yeah, sent us a story from Wired about, or probably other places as well, about biohackers encoding malware in a strand of DNA. Do you understand? I actually am not up on this.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we talked a few weeks ago about people who had researchers who had encoded GIF images into DNA. And how there was sort of this burgeoning field of digital storage in DNA. Then we started talking about those Fresno mosquitoes and how maybe they were full of memes and stuff.
Memes were encoded into the blood that the mosquitoes are spreading. Yeah.
But researchers in the University of Washington looked at all of this DNA research and data being encoded into it and thought to themselves, I wonder if you could actually, instead of putting a GIF in there or just like arbitrary data, I wonder if you could put malware into DNA that would hack the computer that was doing the DNA scanning. So,
oh man.
So like, I guess in this case it's all university grade and research grade stuff, but if you sent your blood in to to a 23andMe. Is that what it's called? Or what's the number?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
23andMe,
And then you
yeah.
somehow just DDoS'd them by way of
That's
your blood.
crazy.
So the way that
That's like a super fucking cyberpunk version of encoding a hack into just the URL of a website where you're submitting a form
it's like
or
where
something.
it actually is the same idea. It's a buffer overrun where they put code in that sort of loops over itself until it fills up memory and spills over into some other unprotected space, and then they can execute their own other code.
That's crazy.
So it was a really controlled test, and it's not like the amount of weird stuff involved makes it difficult to do. And like they did this as a proof of concept. Like there's an actual there's a specific tool. So DNA, when it's tested, is encoded into a specific file format called FastQ, and someone has modified like some standard compression tool into a thing called FQZComp, which is the program they use to compress and decompress this stuff. So for their test, they deliberately modified that to include a loophole that is similar to a real one. So they didn't actually hack an existing system.
Right.
But they still did write software basically out of like GCAT like DNA data, and they said that it was really tough because if you didn't balance the sequence in the way that real DNA is balanced, it would like the literal DNA molecules would collapse or would like or would twist in on themselves.
Yeah,
the other
so it can't be full of holes.
It can't be full of
you
holes.
got to complete the code.
And the other problem that they had, which I found amazing,
frog memes,
or which I found unamazing, which totally makes sense, is that DNA is just an organic thing that doesn't officially have a start or end. So you could scan it backwards, so the virus didn't work. And then they went, I think for version 2 we could actually write this malware as a palindrome.
Oh my God. Jesus.
But they still were able to basically just send out an organic vial of just biomass that's like this described as just a vial of fluid the size of a finger.
Yeah.
That when scanned will just crash and let them execute arbitrary code on a DNA reading server.
That is bonkers.
Yeah,
that is bananas.
Everyone involved knows that it's a super controlled experiment, but just what a good. It's not good. It is good.
Yeah.
It's great. I love that it exists.
What if you are able to start doing this with sort of biometric scans? Like, what if your retinal scan?
Right. That's like the dark future portrayed here, right? Where like if you like that's the cyber mod one where you're an amazing techno criminal hacker, and then when you go in our shitty dystopian world where you go to the police station, instead of your fingerprint, they just like. You just stamp your thumb down and you get the like blood sample taken, in Gattaca or whatever. But then when that happens, all of the computer screens and all the security cameras just turn off because your blood has been encoded with software.
The eyes are the windows to the soul and my sick hacks.
That's also the passphrase that you have to say. But yeah, so in this robot-driven future where humans are the fucking crazy menace, that is totally how you fight back because you. Like, all of the robots are very orderly and insane, whereas humans have all injected themselves with crazy software that will deliberately...
Did you say the robots are orderly and insane?
They're orderly and sane. Or they have a very buttoned down...
That was a terrifying phrase.
Well, it could be true. But,
the robots are... Welcome to 2084. The robots are orderly and insane.
In that hypothetical world where there are somehow... wholly like human at one point human created but now self-sufficient AI society where they make a movie about a human who is a rogue agent and is the thing to be feared, like if it's basically a flip of the Terminator,
right, you
would not want to injure it because if its blood splattered on you or somehow was red,
overloading your system.
If you have anyway, you just inject yourself with this virus.
So anyway, that's what this guy was doing, driving around Arlington in a van. That's why he sped to get away. It was actually to protect
his meme blood.
Yeah, his precious meme blood. I didn't realize what was going on with that. I thought it was going to be much more, I don't know, sort of prosaic, where it's like, oh, we were able to encode source code into the thing and you can execute it. But no, this is way more intense. I mean,
they created the test that had the loopholes in it and stuff, but it was sort of to all sort of say. Well, if genetic storage becomes a thing, or if this style of DNA scanning becomes a thing, these are possible outcomes, even though both the sort of the problem and solution were all generated in a lab.
Right. Presumably, a lot of the sort of thinking behind these hypothetical outcomes is sort of just because of what happens with convenience, right? Like the reason you can encode one of the reasons you can sneak malicious code into a lot of things on the internet is because we have like email clients that just auto open things and things.
Yes.
It's like, oh, this is just a convenience, but the convenience is, allows like a back door,
right?
Because the automation of these things, as opposed to someone like intentionally like parsing it.
Yeah, I mean, and now
that seems totally like feasible in a world in which biometrics are just like a convenience everywhere.
Yeah, so much web technology and like software design is now. There's just a ton of best practices and a ton of enforced layering against really easy arbitrary code injection and sort of overflowing. And part of the point of this was them saying, people are starting to encode data into DNA, and a ton of DNA researching and gene sequencing stuff. No one really cares about security because you're expecting it to just literally be organic material.
Right.
And if we are modifying organic material and we have computers that can read organic material, somewhere down the line this could become a thing. So we're just going to do one right now so we can all look at it.
Mm-hmm. I hope they don't safeguard it too well, because it's going to be pretty sick to live in a cyberpunk future in which your meme blood can overload the retinal scanner at the door, and then you like turn off all the cameras.
And then you know what you get to say. Life finds a way as you fucking kick down the door.
Yeah, as you stride through the now deactivated laser grid.
Yeah, as just all that stuff, you just sort of start coughing on things, and then it just turns off.
Right. If it bleeds, you can kill it.
Yep.
Because I will bleed on it.
If I bleed, I can kill it.
Yeah.
That's our future.
Yeah. Should we take a break?
Yeah.
Sure.
Podcast time.
Okay.
Let's fucking go.
You love podcasts.
Get hype for podcast.
Oh. God, I hate that get hype shit.
What?
Oh my
what is
God.
it? I don't even. Wait, what is it? Is it a thing?
Just get hype. Yeah, it's everybody says this now. Everyone.
Oh, really? I associate that as like a 4 years ago thing.
Oh no.
Is get hype getting hype?
It's still a thing. It's still a thing. Yeah, getting hyped.
You mean just gamers and stuff, right? I mean,
no, everyone now.
Oh, really?
It's bleeding over.
Everyone's hyped.
Everyone's
Chris. Everyone's hype.
Everyone's hype. It's like when you're biased.
Yes. It is
like why
that.
are you why you bias?
Well, because I get hype, Chris.
What if a robot asked you why you bias?
Why
all the
you
time?
bias? That actually is just what the internet is.
What if a robot?
That's
true. You can simulate this.
Why
behavior
you bias?
by going.
Why?
On the
how is
internet
baby formed?
and stating any social or political opinion.
Mm-hmm.
At which point, effectively, an army of robots will ask why bias.
Well, a robot says why bias, then another robot says you mad.
Yeah.
And then posts like a weird fucked up Photoshop of a face with tiny eyes.
What?
That's such a fucking thing. God,
Photoshop of a face with tiny eyes,
or just like a person with a small head.
Yeah, like it's just like weird, sort of.
Or like
you
somebody
guys are more
who's just
tapped in than I am.
legs are shorter than they should be.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like
none of this is real.
No, it is. So like, I don't entirely
get hyped for it, Chris.
I don't entirely
get fucking hype.
The like, I don't understand the sort of etymology of it. But
I have
like
no
people,
idea.
When like someone thinks that they've successful, like when I sort of like 4chan-y Nazi-esque
When they think they've hoisted you,
when they think they've like trolled you and like you're enraged, they'll post a picture of like an already annoyed person, but then like their face has been like contorted to look even more annoyed and pissed. It's like it looks
so
like
it's a real photograph.
Yeah, it looks like
what?
It looks like a
definitely
photograph
never
that
seen
someone
this.
found that they like were amused by the fact that someone looked really annoyed, but then they like aggressively
did they
pinch
manipulate
the features.
Did they manipulate it with Kai's power goo?
I can't tell, but it just looks like the point of the picture is to like make the person who posted it even get more hyped up at how annoyed you are by like imagining that you're this photo, and then they post it at you to like
Jesus,
be like, this is what I
awful.
think you are. I can't. It's just. I look at it and I just want to erase the computer.
So they're successful.
You mad?
I'm mad.
You
But
mad?
I'm not mad at the argument. I'm mad at like
You mad? Jake, you mad?
You
I'm
mad?
I know. I've got fucking owned.
Here, let me show you this picture of your face,
This is what
slightly contorted.
This is what I think you are.
mad.
You mad.
And this man.
God, my bias. I bias.
I bias.
I, bias.
I bias, you mad.
You mad.
I, sage, bias, you idiot, mad.
God, I wisely bias.
You mad. Oh.
Internet.
Canceled.
Bad.
All canceled. All destroyed.
Yeah.
So if you could make an app.
This episode of Important If True is brought to you by Quip, a very compact, well-designed, elegant electric toothbrushes that are sent to your home with brush head refills every 3 months, so you always have the correctly plaque-removing level of sort of bristle situation on your brush. That's a complicated way to say that they just refill your brush heads every 3 months, and your toothbrush is always correct. So if you go to tryquip.com/thumbs, you can get $10 off your first of these brush head refills. That is enough for a free refill. Get that toothbrush sent to your home. Always be ready to brush your teeth.
So they don't ask for the old brush heads back, do they?
No, they don't.
Okay, that would be terrifying.
If you had to mail back old brush heads,
what
would they do with them? Oh, you're suggesting they would recycle them somehow?
No, they would scrape them and keep that information.
Oh, shit. Yeah, man, what if that was like an amazing, weird backdoor DNA research device?
Yeah.
You know what's really fucked up about that is that then if they did that, they could send you back your next brush head with like a hacked version of your DNA on it. So then when you brush your teeth with the new brush head refill, it fucking overloads your circuits and makes you like love cats or whatever.
I just really love Quip.
It's just, I feel like I need to brush my teeth twice as often.
Yeah.
There's so many companies that are actually exactly like that, but not of the biometrics type. Like, do you remember when, one of the multiple times Uber was imploding and it was revealed that web service Unroll Me, which is an unsubscribe service, was in fact archiving everyone's mailing list subscription habits and contact information so that Uber could then buy
or whatever other company.
Yeah, but in that case, Uber bought a list of everyone who used Lyft.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so fucked up.
Yeah, there was a recent one, another one about some company that their whole job was like secure private browsing, and what they actually were literally doing was recording every single thing you did, and it was a fucking Google bot company.
Oh,
like you can call yourself whatever.
Did you mean Google bot, like Google robots, or acquired by Google?
Google purchased. I can't remember the name of it. It's not worth talking about on the podcast, but it was another one of those. Just like the company can claim to be whatever the fuck it wants.
Yeah,
but their privacy policy says what it actually is, which is a fucking disaster.
Anything that claims to be a totally free service, they're fucking you somehow, probably.
Yeah. God. Secure private browsing. I mean, from people who aren't us, the people who are recording every piece of information and cataloging it and then tying it to your Google ID. Whoops. Are you kidding me?
So, Doug L. wrote this email.
Yeah.
He sent us a link to an account on Zazzle.com, which is it's just one of those sites like Cafe Press, I think, right?
Printing.
Where you can basically sell print-on-demand apparel and other merchandise. So you can put your art or whatever on it, and when people buy it, they'll just print I don't know what form of printing that is, some kind of iron-on thing maybe, I don't know.
Or an inkjet.
Inkjet, I don't know. So anyway, the account is Zazzle.com/supernova23A. And Doug writes, this is a Zazzle account I browse from time to time that plugs random nouns into various word templates and then applies these phrases to presumably every single item that Zazzle offers. This produces high-quality items such as the I'm that handsome man who loves pigs coffee mug and the I only kiss girls who protect sharks, trifold wallet. And anybody can become a rock climbing instructor, but not anyone can be one for 25 years, a stainless steel water bottle. I like to imagine the life of the person who would purchase the I'll make you a water polo star or die trying wrapping paper, or the young boy who would wear his my dad has no limitations, he's an HVAC R-Tech hoodie with pride on the schoolyard. For your consideration, Doug L. from Massachusetts.
That's very good.
I love this. I when I saw this email, I got really into browsing this site, and there are some that are just that are just really good in general. Like there's a pin, like a button, that you wear on your shirt or whatever that reads "In love with a hamster doctor," which is impressive. There's a coffee mug, for instance, that reads "A violinist owns my heart." There's another mug, a frosted beer glass, actually, that reads, "I'm not crazy, I just love sheep that much," which is kind of...
Oh, no.
Yeah.
This is a T-shirt that reads, "Not only is he a great dad, he's also from Greece." I am fascinated by like the implication of that. Right. But wait, the thing that I started to really get into with these is the passive-aggressive potential of some of these when you combine the specifics of the message with the form factor, like with the product on which it is printed. So there's a wrapping paper that reads, "I'm going to marry a hot physics teacher," which is like, depending on who you give it to, that's either like a really sweet marriage proposal or a declaration of like extreme marital displeasure. There are weirder ones. This is a jigsaw puzzle. So imagine giving this to someone, let's say a pharmacist. Let's say giving this to a buddy of yours who's a pharmacist, and they don't know what the puzzle is. Right, so they have to complete this like 1,000-piece or whatever jigsaw puzzle to see the message. And imagine you give them this gift, and you're like, "Oh, like you're such a good pharmacist, like, and you're my friend also. So here's this puzzle, put it together." And they're like, "Oh, what a nice gift.
I found this online and thought of you."
Yeah, exactly. They spend hours and hours and hours assembling this thing. Finally, they do, and the message they're presented with is, "You may be a good pharmacist, but you'll never be a great pharmacist like my boyfriend." What is the usage of that message except just to be a total asshole?
I hope you've purchased at least a couple of these.
Yeah. Right?
And received many like vases or something.
Yeah. There's a pair that is a pair of wristwatches, which I find those really interesting because a message written on the face of a wristwatch can only be delivered to the wearer of the wristwatch. Yeah. Right? It's not like a T-shirt where you're...
Well, unless somebody asks you for the time, right? And then you go...
That's a fair point. But if you imagine that like 97% of the time, the person reading this is you.
So regardless of what this one says, the fact that you've put that concept in my mind does just make me want a wristwatch that says "fuck you" on it.
There's one that's not that far off from that. Okay. I mean, that is very good though. Now I just imagine that. That's so good. There's one wristwatch whose face reads, "The journey to become an electrician has begun."
That one's really good.
Pump yourself up every time you look at that.
Exactly. Fuck it, I'm fucking doing this. It's happening, world. And then there's another one that was right next to it.
"You'll never become an electrician."
Right. Yeah. That's on your other wrist.
That's just your partner discreetly swaps
God.
out your wristwatch with
Right.
that one.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
geez.
Yeah.
Did it always
No.
say this?
No, I think
Yeah.
Was I deluding myself?
I like the idea that you have that wristwatch and then it breaks and then you don't know how to repair it because you're beginning the journey, and so you just have this reminder like,
It's a-
oh
yeah.
fuck.
Oh, does it use a
Electric wristwatch.
battery?
Is this like a mechanical one? Shit. There's another wristwatch that I am like fascinated. I am fascinated by what would result in this being on your wrist to see the message of it all the time. Also, I just bought a wristwatch for the first time in like 15 years. So as I'm doing this, I keep
keep going,
looking at my wrist.
It's my
and then-
joke. And then, oh, God,
and then
there's a
realizing
watch
there's
there.
in fact a watch there. Which
And it
is,
says, fuck you.
yeah. It says automatic 21 joules, which is my name for myself. So that's
oh, nice.
yeah. So
That
it's
also,
very
that
much in
gets you
keeping-
hype.
Yeah, it gets me totally hype. Anyway, this other wristwatch on the face reads, "My economics test was designed to make you suffer." Which is like, there's something, I don't exactly know what the line from point A to point B is on that, but it's dark. Whatever it is like that's sinister.
You were given that watch by Jigsaw from the movie Saw,
Yeah.
but like an edutainment version of Saw.
Yeah. And then the sorry, this guy's got there. The last one I took a picture of here is this is on a coffee mug, and I'm imagining it being given as a gift to someone, and I couldn't help but read it in just a total tone of fuck you. And the message is, "You can retire, but you'll always be a dentist." And it sounds like such a fucking parting shot to someone who's been miserable in their career. Like, I kind of...
That's what it says. So you're looking at the Zazzle tombstone page.
Oh, God. I actually wasn't even thinking about that when I saved this one. I just thought it was like a non sequitur dump for no reason.
Right, no, it is just
on
like,
your
welcome
retiring
to the
dentist
first
friend.
day of the rest of your life, comma, you're a dentist.
Yeah, right. So anyway, the fucking like...
Sorry.
The hoisting potential of Zazzle.com/supernova23A, I feel is
So we should write a
considerable.
Zazzle bot that takes all of these, then just adds comma sorry to the end of all of them.
yeah. Oh man, there's one T-shirt that just says "I'm the sheep expert."
Sorry.
So I can imagine a real market for some of this stuff, dressed up in.
It would be dressed up in.
Oh, I don't know, just something really assertive. This is really sort of referential, but like, I'm just imagining, Jake, the way that you assemble the artwork for each week's Important If True. I really like it. I think you do a really good job with it, and it's very interesting to me because each one is the exact same style. It's the same like yellow sort of color palette applied to all of them, and then there's just this big, bold, Important If True stamped on top of it, whether it's like a picture of 1980s Alec Trebek or like The Terminator or, Air Bud or whatever.
Right, or a Britney Spears Instagram feed.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And there's something like about the sort of intentional, the like assertiveness of the branding against like what seems to be entirely arbitrary.
Right, but so if it was a picture of, Britney Spears Instagram, or like a car's car with an explosion behind it, but then it said you may be retired, but you're still a dentist.
Right.
And that was then hugely printed onto a giant like zip up jacket.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe we should look.
Yeah,
into
I think
this.
that it's the fact that it's using Zazzle. It's probably because you can programmatically make things with Zazzle, but I think people need to get more bold and start using services like Paint All Over Me, which is the site that'll make that. Paint All Over Me is the most amazing clothing printer because they print onto the fabric that is used and then manufacture the item as opposed to printing onto the shirt. So you can just give it a JPEG of your face. And then you get a shirt that is your face taking up the entire shirt and then extending out onto the sleeves and all. So you can go nuts with that. If you really think, when I saw this, I hoped that there was a future or present where some ridiculous microculture of like teen fashion is just our programmatically generated phrases.
Yeah.
Just emblazoned in the most outrageous style onto clothing.
That seems like it's ripe to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, when you consider like the sort of the current state of the internet plus people's fascination with like different cultures using, sort of emblazoning T-shirts with slogans in other languages
Right.
that produce...
Exactly.
Yeah.
The fact that, you can see shirts that just make no sense that are in English that are sold in Japan or the other way around or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Or, it seems like we can't be that far away from someone deciding to start making a fashion statement by having like motion tracking targets inside of their clothing so that when you use Snapchat, it can like do additional weird shit on you or like, that it seems like we've got to be close to that being not out of control or like not surprising.
Right.
That the things that you wear in real life exist either because the content is like barfed out of a computer or because it's meant to actually make your online presence and your online sort of representation more rich.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Man, I feel like we can get on this train early.
This train's probably already left in many places that we're just not aware
That's probably true. Yeah.
We can get on this train early for adults over 35.
Well, Nick and I aren't there yet.
No. Well, you can get on there early because you're not 35, I guess.
Speaking of this, Stephen Norrie writes, if you had to create a stereotypical startup that does menial tasks for rich, lazy millennials, for example, one that takes out your trash for you, what would you go for? So maybe we've already answered that.
That's true.
No, fuck that. God, is it to benefit me or just for that I think someone else would like?
Oh,
because
I don't know.
To benefit me, the last thing that I want is some garbage that just like puts shitty phrases and like motion tracking dots all over myself. No. No. Get that away from me.
Well, it depends. Do you consider yourself a millennial? Because you're right on the line.
I don't know.
Because if no, then the answer to this question doesn't have to be for you because the question is posed. I mean,
you might not be a millennial, but at least you're on the train.
But at least you can make apps for them.
Yeah. Print.
Control P. No.
Zazzle.com.
Yeah.
You guys as confirmed millennials as opposed to gross millennial cuspers, as we call ourselves.
That phrase was way grosser than any millennial cusper could ever be.
Speaking of that, whenever like San Francisco has this aggressive coffee culture that I despise.
Yeah.
But do you remember when I'm sure there are people who still call it this, but when people were trying really hard to get coffee culture in the same zone as like wine.
Oh, and there's like
people talk
coffee
about
sommeliers and shit like that.
The thing that people described like coffee tasting of it as a cupping.
Oh
yeah, I remember this.
cuppings.
Yeah.
It sounds like a
Gross.
sex act.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it also is, and probably
Well, there's
happened
also
at coffee cupping.
I mean, there is
Yeah.
another gross thing that's called cupping, which is when you take suction cups and like cup your body. Have you seen this?
No, okay.
No.
Nick,
Oh, man.
Nick, what app would you make?
Wait, what is the deal with cupping?
Oh yeah, this is a thing. I mean, so you'll occasionally see people walking around in San Francisco.
What?
Wait, what?
Oh yeah, who have these enormous red marks, circular like markings on their body that almost look like burns or something.
Uh-huh.
But what that is they've gone cupping.
What is that? Okay,
And
wait.
so they-
hold on,
somebody-
hold on,
somebody
hold on,
ta- a
hold on,
cupping
hold on,
specialist
hold on,
takes-
hold on. I have a question. I have an important question that will determine my emotional reaction to the phenomenon of cupping.
Yeah.
Is it one, bedroom practices preference, in which case fucking go for it, like you have
No.
my blessing, or is it I believe this is going to remove toxins?
Yes.
Fuck you. Fuck you, cuppers. That's garbage. That's garbage. Anyway, what were you going to say?
Nothing.
You've contextualized it enough that we can extrapolate the rest of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's I don't actually know what they use
So
it for.
the app,
It's something like that.
the app that Chris would make is one that allows him to just view the world through his phone, and it will programmatically remove things like that from reality.
Yeah.
I mean, I must have already done this because I've never seen cuppers in life. I don't think. Maybe I just thought someone had some bruises or welts or something.
Maybe it's because they were so free of toxins and other bad things.
Yeah, they just glowed. Their body glowed.
Yeah.
With cupping. God, ugh,
Anyway,
ugh.
Nick, what's your app?
Oh, okay. This is stupid, but I think this would make money.
Uh-huh.
Which is an app that for millennials, it you know what? This is a bad idea because I'm realizing now it's an app for me, which I guess
That's fine.
I guess we're millennials, but it's really like the older end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
But it would just consolidate all the other apps within a certain category. So like your music apps, and just actually fucking make sense of it.
That. It's called a folder on iOS.
No. It would actually do the thing that you want, which is just remove the necessity to use those things in a like.
Wait, what?
Just like, all right, never mind.
No. What is the problem that you want solved, Nick?
You have like iTunes and Spotify and just all of this fucking garbage, and you never know where your shit is. I just want the thing that does that.
I see.
And then untangles my earbuds.
To like take all your sort of like DRM and like where you've purchased what and sort of just put it into one directory,
right?
So that when you want it, you just say
says,
this is the one I want,
and I have it.
Whatever.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's
because
actually that.
There are
sense.
also similar, like if you own a Roku or an Apple TV or a lot of those other streaming things, you want sort of the equivalent of can I stream it, but for your personal library. If you're like, God,
I own this?
I just want to watch.
A good idea.
Do I have this?
No, that's
Can I use this thing?
Yeah.
No,
do I still subscribe to this?
That probably exists.
I don't know.
That's a good idea, especially if it incorporated everything. Like, in terms of both, do you have this in your actual ownership or what passes for ownership in our fucking fucked up world?
Or is it currently on license to a thing that you subscribe to, or like what any of this fucking stuff actually does?
All of the sort of big smart TVs, smartphone providers are all trying to slowly provide that, but it requires every content provider.
They don't do the part that he started with, which is looking at your own just libraries of stuff you own that you might have bought on Amazon, you might have bought on iTunes, you might have like whatever.
I'm sure that's tough because none of those services want to give API access to that.
No, they don't want to do it.
They don't want it. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't want you to be able to authenticate through a third party to show that, which is why I think most of it's limited to who has Mad Men Season 2 and am I a subscriber to it? And that's as far as we'll get.
It seems like eventually that kind of thing is going to have to happen. I mean, it just naturally will.
Or will it?
Well, no, I don't know.
It seems like inevitably no one will own anything, and then it won't matter.
Well, that's actually true. That is more likely probably. But to the extent that any concept of like buying something digitally remains, eventually people will have had digital libraries that have existed for like decades.
Yeah.
And how the hell do you like keep track of any of it?
You don't. I just keep using iTunes forever because it's what I started using, and I have MP3s in it from the 90s. Like the end, like it's not a good solution.
Yeah,
it's annoying.
Anyway, Jake, you had a good answer for this.
I didn't have a good answer, but I started just sort of I started writing out things that I would want an app to do. Like sort of, I tried to be honest with myself, but then I realized a trend and just continued to write apps. So it started off with app that lets me know if someone is actually around when I want to talk to them, so I don't have to leave an awkward note or voicemail or feel like I'm blasting them with texts at a bad time. Like I just I want.
How would that work though? That's contingent on the other person allowing some.
Yeah.
Right. It would be like if you open up your texting app and there's a little green circle next to them, which is not online, but it's like it's fine. I'm at my desk.
Yeah.
You can send me a work email.
I mean,
it would require everyone to actually opt into that, which no one would do. Because
I opt out of all that shit, like read receipts. No. Fucking, I hate it. I hate it.
But I hate message. Like it's collapsed in where it was like, oh, cool, I can text people so I don't need to call them and no one will call me. But now I'm like, oh, I hate when I'm in a situation and my phone just goes, boof, 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 and like I started just silencing my phone, and I only like. Not when I'm at work, but like I hate it. Yeah. And what I hate more is the feeling that I'm now sending a text to someone and it's going to make their phone like vibrate around across their desk, and they're going to look at it and it says "message Jake Rodkin" and go, "Oh,
yeah,
like oh god, that's the worst."
That's pretty good.
And then I upgraded that kind of, or like to app that predictably and accurately answers all routine emails, phone calls, and personal questions for me.
That's Google's working on it.
App that has conversations for me in social situations. App that handles all social engagements for me.
Oh, okay.
App that sleeps for me but maybe transfers the rest to me. App that prepares and eats my meals. App that suggests what I should do with my life.
Okay, we've answered. We were wondering if Jake is a millennial. Jake is a millennial.
App that replaces me in all situations. App that quietly kills me and disposes of my body in a dumpster and erases my online existence.
Dempster.
A Dempster brand dumpster.
Well,
so that was the end game for what my dream app would be. Is just like silently, without me knowing it, end my life. And
boil
then
me like a frog until I am no more.
until I'm yep.
Get hype.
$2.99.
No, free parentheses
Free.
with in-app purchases.
Bullshit.
Fuck
Free-
this.
What is this in-app?
Yeah.
It says it's free, but I was only legally dead for 3 minutes before it resuscitated me.
It keeps bringing me back to life.
But I don't want to spend the $3.99.
It's killing me and bringing me back to life.
Version? This is bullshit.
Bullshit.
1 star.
Nothing even happened. Nothing happened. It says I was dead. I didn't even know. It was just blackness.
When I woke up, it was like I was been.
God, this reminds me of an email. We ever sent an email about just this.
Really? Which one?
About heaven.
Oh wow, yeah. Weird. Okay, so Rando O writes, when I was growing up, I wanted to be a good person so I could go to heaven. I was raised Catholic, and 1 week in 5th grade, the concept really got to me. The more I thought about it, the more uncertain... I'm just thinking of Jake's fucked up app. The more uncertain I was that I wanted to go to heaven because eternity is so huge. I spent a week unable to sleep, sometimes in tears, because I didn't want to exist forever. I was terrified of the eternal, and it took a week for my mind to start thinking of other things when bedtime came around. Existing in time as we do, I'm not sure I'd want to step out of time's arrow. I'd love maybe 5,000 years of heaven, then my soul dissolves into light and is no longer me. I eventually stopped fearing heaven and moved on, partly because I could not accept it as it was relayed to me. But the timescale of the universe still awes me. I assume there are elements we don't know, and the scale of time may be even beyond the numbers theoreticians give. Would you want to go to the ideal concept of heaven, if eternal, or would you prefer to stop existing entirely?
What would you guys like?
I mean, it depends, like, how much I get charged in the app for the number of years. Like, if the app was 5,000 years of heaven.
Oh, wait, so you're saying heaven is an in-app purchase as well?
Oh, yeah, I guess that's an
that's from my hit single, Heaven is an in-app purchase.
Wish I knew whether I owned that.
Yeah, if only I could search.
Only I knew.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think one of the things that reading this email made me think about is I think it's, regardless of the answer, I think sort of struggling with that question is probably like sort of a sign of humanity, and I think is by implication says something about the weird like Silicon Valley tech bro billionaires who want to like drink teenager blood and then transfer their consciousness into a brain in a jar so they can last forever, or whatever the fuck they're trying to do.
Teens injecting malware into their blood to kill Peter Thiel.
Oh shit! Oh wow! Wow. Yeah, if teens sabotage their own blood with malware so that when Peter Thiel and other Silicon Valley VC...
Right, so those guys will start augmenting
fuckos.
themselves with shitty cyber enhancements and then also drink the blood of teens to stay young. You could just erase their brain. You could erase all of their like extended other garbage.
Wow, that is some of the darkest shit that
Teens keep turning off Peter Thiel's Google Glass with their blood.
Yeah, it's the new fad among teens. You can just imagine the local news
God,
story.
I keep having to resync the Dropbox in my mind enhancement because teens keep planting stuff that crashes it.
Local San Jose teens have a new pastime: hacking Peter Thiel's Google Glass through his blood.
Yeah, I found a place that'll give you $10 to donate your blood, and I found out where I was going, and then a guy told me he'd give me $300 if I injected shit into my veins first. Now I do it for kicks. Anyway,
I don't know. Do you guys have any answer to this? I feel like Nick would be someone feels like you would have a tough time adjusting to the concept of an eternal afterlife.
Why would you say that, Chris?
Because it just seems like you would I don't know. Am I wrong?
Well,
it seems like
okay.
you
so the
would
the thing that I thought of is like, what is? I mean, first of all, you have to define what heaven is. Is heaven as in like the sort of clouds and everybody is like sort of happy all of the time, or is heaven my version of a heaven, which would be that
like mayonnaise
I get to just be still miserable and I enjoy that, and you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
But it's on your terms.
But it's on my terms, right? Yeah,
with it.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big question.
Yeah.
I mean that.
I don't know. I mean, I guess you've answered it by way of that.
I have.
The implication is clear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that's the deal, if it's my world. then I'm fine.
What if you just
being
have
there
to be
forever.
happy all the time?
I don't think I could deal with that
you hack the
forever.
blood and you're out. Yeah, no
Forever.
in-app purchase.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
Even though it gives me some anxiety to think about, I think that I'm pretty content with the arc of one human life, and have absolutely no interest in existing beyond that. If I find out that happens, it had better be pretty fucking sweet.
Yeah, I think
like just the complete arc of my life existing or ending when I die, and then there's nothing, and my consciousness is erased, and whatever contributions I left on Earth remain, and sort of the bigger picture continues.
Sure. Yeah,
great. I want that more than anything else. I don't want me to continue past when I exist as my own interiority goes.
I feel
that actually gives me anxiety to think about. Like, I don't want it.
Well, it's funny. I mean, I didn't really have this in mind when I was reading the question, but like, definitely we now live in a world in which this question has like an entire additional layer of implications, right? I mean, humans have wondered about this for millennia, the implication being that if some afterlife exists, as certain religions prescribe, describe, there's some metaphysical sense in which your consciousness continues to exist. But now we live in a world where you probably actually increasingly are going to have to be worried that some element of you will in fact, like, what's weird about
like
this?
Genetic material or like your tweets?
I'm saying that I don't know. What I'm saying is there are actual human beings alive right now who are investing considerable sums of money into it, like to some version of immortality. So that's one thing that's true. Another thing that's true is what the fuck does it mean for someone who, and I would say we're on the borderline of this, who has lived most or all of your existence online and have constructed such a like robust online identity.
Your online presence
Yeah.
is a stamp of the past, but I don't think that it can generate new choices and surprise.
Yeah, that's true.
With the like a person has the ability to take all of the things inside of it and then create new things, and I don't know if that's the same as your like Amazon profile doing
right.
that.
No, you're right. And I guess what I'm speaking, I guess, less to your own identity and sense of self, and more to like how it interacts with other people around you. Because in the past, if someone dies, pre-internet, like they might have a gravestone. They might have, like, depending on how sort of notable a person they are, they might have sort of public shrines or some.
Sure,
but they're going
to your immediate family. It's also just there's stuff.
To your immediate family, there are mementos of you probably that exist all over on a daily basis. But to most of the world,
and those do fade eventually, right?
Yeah, to most of the world, you have to be sought. Your physical evidence has to be sought out or is encountered rarely. But what I more mean is that online, the sort of evidence of your existence is like everywhere in your friend circles. Like you'll see like, oh, someone liked a tweet from this deceased person, and that just like pops up on your timeline now because they found it, even if it was posted 5 years ago. Or like, there's just so many things that
we just leave more garbage behind now.
Yeah,
we ever did.
We leave more garbage behind that is globally visible.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a really weird place to end this episode.
I think that over time, the stuff that you leave behind, even digitally, does sort of fade and degrade this at a different rate, maybe than it does in real life. But like seeing,
it's weird that's happening while also the population of the globe increases.
Yeah,
right. It's
that's a problem that exists both online and in real life in different forms.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I hope that I turn into dirt.
I think that's safe to assume.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, should we endorse?
I think we better.
Whoa. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess podcast complete on that.
Yeah,
I hope I turn into dirt. Important if true. I endorse turning into dirt.
Nick, what do you have? What do you want to endorse?
I just went on a road trip to Portland to visit our friend Steve.
Oh, yeah. You went to the Tacoma game launch party.
And before we left, I went with my girlfriend Janelle, and she suggested that because we're going to be in a car for like 20 hours in 3 days, that we should have a stupid game or something to play. It's actually kind of along the lines of what, Jake, you were describing, I think, at one point, an app that used to do this and like...
Oh, I was describing a game called Tiny Games that isn't available anymore. But
right. Yeah. This is, not really the same in that it's not a game, but it's called Chat Pack, Fun questions to spark conversation. Something we could use. But actually, I mean, really, it is almost like having 100 pretty decent like podcast topics just in your pocket. And
chat pack.
Yeah, and I was skeptical, like whether they would just be like, "What's your favorite color?" or like, describe your favorite movie. What's your favorite movie? But they were actually like, I would say 50% along those lines, or at least sort of like, oh, I have a very easy, quick answer for this, and then 50% actually generated at least 10 minutes of conversation.
Should bring that in next week.
I might. Yeah,
do that.
I'll do that. It's pretty good. So yeah, it's called Chat Pack, and you can buy it on Amazon. They have like more Chat Pack, and like it's just a deck of cards.
Yeah.
I think it's been around for a while, but Chat Pack, fun questions to spark conversations. It's really good.
Nice.
Yeah.
I last night watched a movie that has been recommended to me by a bunch of people repeatedly, including Jake. And the movie was The Hunt for the Wildepeople.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, directed by the New Zealand director Taika Waititi, who's directed a few movies. This is the
What
first...
We Do in the Shadows was the other one that he directed that people knew about, the sort of vampire mockumentary.
I now really want to watch that. This is the first of his I've seen. Anyway, this movie is called The Hunt for the Wildepeople, and it's really, really good. It's kind of one of those movies where I want to say the less you know about it, the better. Not because there are any twists or turns, but just because it's a very sort of delightful, surprising film.
The marketing for that movie played it as sort of a very super twee indie style thing of that style, where it was like this. It looked in the marketing like it was like a person younger than Wes Anderson made a bad Wes Anderson movie. That's not what the tone of the movie is at all.
No, it's not. I mean, the premise is that in New Zealand, a kid who is in the sort of foster care system has been bounced around between families that end up rejecting him, and he ends up at the home of a sort of older, middle-aged couple who live in a super isolated farm in like on the
edge of the
border
bush,
of the bush, in New Zealand, and he's sort of known as kind of a bad seed, and the movie ends up becoming sort of just a great, almost like a sort of wilderness adventure. And I don't want to say anything else beyond that. It's just a really super funny, but also touching movie. And I would really recommend. Oh, and it has fucking Sam Neill in it.
Oh, man.
Sam Neill, a.k.a. Dr. Grant of Jurassic Park. And he's just fantastic in a big old beard.
He's got that big beard
Good
now.
old Sam Neill. It's really good.
So yeah, check it out. Hunt for the Wildepeople. It's on Amazon and Hulu. I don't think it's on Netflix, but
if you already own it, we can't tell you that because that app doesn't exist.
but I'll obviously link to it in the description.
Cool. Nick talking about road trip games reminded me of that I'm going to now endorse a game. I'm going to endorse a party game, a party card game called Fun Employed.
Oh yeah, that game's great.
We've all played this.
Yeah, if you've played Apples to Apples or Cards Against Humanity or one of those sort of party games that everyone plays, Fun Employed is in that style, but it is for me like by an order of magnitude my favorite one of them, and I think it is the best one of them. In Fun Employed, the premise of it is that everyone is interviewing for a job. So it's very much like Cards Against Humanity, where someone will put down a single card that has a subject or a concept, and then in those games you answer with an answer from your hand, like a funny word that lines up with that word. Whereas in Fun Employed, one person says, okay, I'm looking to hire a flight attendant, and then in your hands, as all the other players, you have a hand of job qualifications. Out on the table are another 10 possible qualifications. You can sort of mix and match off the table to build what will hopefully be the best resume for a flight attendant. However, you don't just put the cards down and get judged on those. You actually have to apply for the job. So you're required to improvise and sort of come up with a fake interview where you could say, well, I'd be great because I have a hook for a hand, whatever, I can get things out of the seat, or, whatever. I've sort of realistic job requirements and just absurd garbage. It sounds like it could be challenging or like it could require a particularly funny or improv-versed person. But the thing that I found about Fun Employed is that like I've played it with my parents or just with total strangers that I've been with on a trip, and it brings out people's inner sense of humor and inner sort of like I've found that instead of people having to adapt to play the game's version of what's funny, it's very good at sort of bring out the way that person is improvisational or the way that person thinks things are funny in a way that just doesn't happen with a lot of other party games that profess to do that.
All right, well, that's Fun Employed.
Yeah.
We'll link to that one as well in the description. Awesome. Well, that is our episode. Thank you for joining us on Important If True. If you have a question for us, you need our advice, you need our consultation, or consideration, you can email questions at importantiftrue.com. Our website is importantiftrue.com, and on there you can subscribe to the podcast. You can find links to the forum discussions for each episode, the YouTube video for each episode. All the places that we exist on the internet can be found at importantiftrue.com. And if you like this podcast and think you know someone who also might like it, why not recommend it to them?
If you love this podcast, go to our Facebook page and react with a love action.
Oh, that's true.
Don't just like it.
Yeah.
Give us those loves and give us those wows. I want a wow face.
Give us a wow.
Yeah.
Nick winced when I said give us a wow face.
Yeah, I just think you biased.
You just think I bias?
You bias.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Well, you mad.
Well, yep, then that's it for this episode. We'll be back next week with another episode of Important If True. From Idle Thumbs, I am Chris Remo.
I'm Stay Spicy.
And I'm Stay Spicy.
And until then, remember, you may retire, but you will always be a dentist. Important if you mad.
Shut up.
You mad.
I am mad.
Yeah.
I'm mad. You bias. I mad. You bias.
I bias.
Then you cry wildly because we finally can communicate.
I bias. To me. I bias. You mad.
You mad.
You mad.
Get your fucking timer ready.
Are you telling him to punch the keys for God's sake or whatever?
Oh, yeah, what is that?
I don't know. It's the opposite of
Punch the keys for God's sake. I remember that and I don't remember what it is.